Hey, what's up? This is Ableton here. Hot off the DPD van, we have here the Nike and Cav Empt collab Air Max 95. These came in two colorways. There's the black and white ones that I've got here, and also a navy pair. The navy ones went alongside a capsule collection of clothing that Nike released as well, which had exactly the same coloring and based off some retro Nike pieces, but given a little bit of a Cav Empt twist. There was a tracksuit, a t-shirt, a vest, a hat I think as well, so quite a few things which fit that navy color scheme. But enough about the clothing, we're here to talk about these, the Air Max 95 specifically. Things like how they look, material, fit, comfort, and at £165 retail, do these represent a good purchase? Oh, and of course with its distinctive looks, what you might go about wearing it with. But first of all, let's talk about looks. The Air Max 95 is a very recognizable silhouette because of the material waves that go down each side of the shoe. That combined with a very chunky midsole with visible air units both at the back and the front of the shoe make this both something that's instantly recognizable and give it a classic retro sportswear appearance. These are very much associated with 90s athletic style, as well as in the UK at least, roadman style culture, whatever you want to call it, where a pair of 95s or a similar Air Max shoe are worn alongside nylon tracksuits, big puffer jackets, that kind of thing. But the rippled design, which traditionally would come with either a gradient or a mix of materials, is really secondary here to the very noticeable and distinctive pattern, which you may well have picked up on before I mentioned it. That very bold, glitchy, digi camo pattern is applied to the entire shoe, so of course is present all across those material waves. That combined with the all-leather construction means that the design of the Air Max 95 is really turned on its head, and it diminishes the effect of the waves. It blends those panels into one and creates angularity and randomness from what was order and traditionally a nice little gradient pattern. The application of that pattern, of course, is really what's going to make you love or hate this shoe, because it absolutely is applied everywhere, not just to those leather side panels, but you'll find it on the tongue, you'll find it applied underneath the mesh sections towards the top of the shoe and over the toe box, on the leather part of the toe box, on the midsole. It's even applied to the little air units that are visible on the midsole too, which is extremely rare for a shoe of this kind. The only other example I can think of an air unit being painted or customized in some way is the coating that's on the acronym VaporMax, and that, the sheer usage of this pattern in different ways all over the shoe, makes the 95 very unique. And with a silhouette that's had a 20+ year history and absolutely hundreds of different colorways, that's no easy feat. I do think that's really cool, and I like how each section has the pattern applied in a slightly different way. This isn't just shoes being created and then it's just been dunked in Cav Empt pattern juice. Each individual panel has been printed separately, so by looking at it up close you can really appreciate the subtlety of the design and the sheer number of different ways that this pattern is used. Hopefully that's something that does come across in the footage. However, despite my appreciation of the design, I'm very much in two minds about the overall look of the shoe and how it appears in the context of an outfit. Because of how busy the pattern is and how much is going on, I do find it's difficult to appreciate that from more of a distance and when worn with other things. And I think also, because it is so bold and so eye-catching, it requires a little bit of work to not totally overshadow the rest of an outfit, but that's something that I'll talk a little bit more about later. It's a good job the 95 is such a well-known model, because here the application of the pattern makes the Nike swoosh, which already is quite small in this model, even less visible. You'll also find dual Nike and Cav Empt branding on the tongue. Although I much prefer this logo that they've used to the standard Air Max one, I think it would have been cool, and I feel like they missed a trick here by not using the little Cav Empt circular logo that you'll find on their jumpers. I think that would have been a really nice nod to the rest of the Cav Empt brand, and it would have just fit on there really nicely. If this collab does signify an ongoing relationship between Cav Empt and Nike, which I certainly hope it does, then I'd really like to see that used, maybe on a different model and in a slightly different way. But I feel like Cav Empt have a lot of ideas that they could draw from to make more shoes, not just this one. I I have no major issues with the quality of this shoe. The predominantly leather construction feels pretty good, it's solid, it's sturdy, and there's a decent amount of cushioning both on the tongue and the heel. They have a solid toe box shape as well. Some Nike shoes have a tendency to do the banana and kind of spoon up at the end, which doesn't look great, but luckily these don't suffer from that. There are a couple of minor things though. Around one of the air soles, there's a few instances where it looks like the pattern hasn't really been applied that well. It looks like there's a bit of a mistake there, but with this kind of thing, I expect that that's inevitable, and you'll probably find that with the pattern applied to the midsole, it's the kind of thing that's going to chip off quite quickly anyway. That was certainly something that happened with the acronym VaporMax. There's one or two loose bits of thread around the stitching as well, which I feel could have been finished a little nicer, but ultimately they're still an Air Max 95, they are still a mass-produced shoe. These kinds of things unfortunately can happen. Yeah, I don't know if you guys can see there, but some of the stitching on the back is kind of frayed a little bit. One other thing on the look that hasn't really been publicized and you might not even know about is that there's some 3M detailing on these across the tongue and on the laces. So if you go out with these at night or whatever, then they will flash up to make sure that they're super visible even when it's dark. The fit seems bang on, it's very much a classic Nike trainer fit. I bought a UK 11, which is my true size, and I feel like they fit fine. Because they're not a kind of sock construction or anything like that, it makes the laces quite useful, so you've got some adjustability there in terms of being able to tighten these. As I mentioned earlier, there's a decent amount of padding on the heel and the tongue there, which also helps with the comfort and the fit. The all leather construction means that they're not quite as supple as some shoes, and me being used to Flyknit and Primeknit and that kind of thing, it's certainly more rigid than those, but I feel like it's the kind of thing that will loosen up over time, and they're certainly more comfy than a leather dress shoe or something like a pair of Common Projects out of the box. Obviously, if you've worn a pair of Air Max 95s before, they're not going to be any different to that. I alluded to these being difficult to style earlier because they're so bold. Normally what I say with things like that is, oh, just wear all black and, you know, let the shoes do the talking. But I feel like that's not quite gonna cut it here. I feel like it really demands other punchy or eye-catching pieces to help balance these out a little bit more and stop them taking too much attention from everything else. So as you might have noticed in the earlier clips, I've been wearing these alongside the Cloudburst Forecaster pants. The cracked Tyvek finish on them I think works really nicely with the white and black Air Max 95s. And because I've got a slightly cropped shape and the ability to taper in the ankles with a little button fastening, it makes the pant shoe interaction look pretty good here. And I think it kind of taps into that roadman style of having those cuffed nylon joggers, or those things that are pulled in real tight at the ankles to really show off the shoe. I wasn't too sure what to wear on the top half because both of those other pieces were so eye-catching. So here I've got the black Stone Island Shadow Project sweater, which is in fact this one here. Something a bit more exciting could certainly work well though, perhaps even just a white accessory like a bag of some kind, just to keep that black and white motif going through the whole outfit. I think tapping into that roadman style also is no bad thing. Cav Empt is a very retro-futuristic brand, and this capsule collection dug into the Nike archives a little bit for some of those 90s inspired pieces. So I think running with that idea could also work quite well. And yeah, focusing on those nylon tracksuit pants, big puffer jackets, and that kind of stuff. Things which maybe give a twist on that classic style. I've got a North Face puffer jacket in my head, which has that kind of like TV staticky kind of pattern. Maybe something like that could work quite well. That said, Errolson Hugh posted a picture of him wearing these on Instagram a couple of days ago, and he was wearing just plain black pants and a pretty plain grey jacket. So make of that what you will. Maybe my advice is totally wrong, or of course, maybe it's one of those things where there's several different ways to wear them. I'm sure there's a lot of ways that people better dressed than me will make a creative use of this shoe. Only thing I would say though is like, don't wear them with really skinny jeans or something, because these are going to look like absolute boats on your feet. And yeah, just a little bit more of a relaxed fit. Doesn't matter if they cuff or something at the bottom, but just keep it relaxed. Overall, I feel like the Cav Empt Air Max 95 is a very cool looking shoe, but for me it's almost something that's better to sit here and look at and appreciate than perhaps it is to wear in outfits, certainly for day-to-day wearing. And that's really due to a difficulty in appreciating the pattern from a bit more of a distance, as well as the fairly high price premium. These coming in at £165 makes them quite a bit above what you might expect to pay for an Air Max 95. Although they do apparently retail at something like £130 for the more premium versions, it's not that difficult to find these under 100. And I imagine those two reasons are why you can still get this shoe on the Nike UK website several days after its release, after being released on the Sneakers app, which often is where you'll find the more hyped releases, things that you have to enter a raffle for. So although I do like these and I can appreciate them, I'm still not 100% sold on my ability to actually wear these on a regular basis, and for that reason I am still very much in two minds about them. And I may in fact end up returning them if I find that I just can't effectively work these into outfits, because then they're just going to be another shoe that are going to sit on the back there and will look great, but I'm not going to get £165 of use out of them. But maybe you guys can help me decide. Let me know what you think of these down in the comments. Are these worth sticking with? Or do you think that pattern is just a little bit too much? I expect these will be quite divisive, so I'm looking forward to hearing your thoughts. These are going to be a similar response, I think, to the acronym VaporMax, which certainly got a lot of love for the pattern, but also a lot of hate because they were very different to everything that had come before. Either way, yeah, as I say, let me know what you think, and if you enjoyed the video, do of course leave a like, it's super appreciated, and that's everything. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next episode. Shout out to Kyle Manfred. I did actually do an Anthony Fantano intro like way back, so shout out if you remember that one. But yeah, that's my favourite melon right there. And shout out to Mr. Castrator. We had the green pants last week. Now we got these shoes. We're going all kinds of crazy places in 2019. Who knows what I'll be covering by December. Shout out to everyone who's left their Q&A questions in the comments so far. There's been some good ones. I'm going to record that probably next week, so there's still time. If you've got any burning questions, stick them in the comments and I might include them in a video. Thanks for making it all the way to the end. If you want to see some more techwear stuff, then check the links up there, and if you haven't subscribed yet, do the subscribe-y thing, do the notification thing, and then when new videos come out every week, you can be the first one and you can get the first comment in, and then you can get all the likes and everyone will think you're super cool.